everybody, today I wanted to show you how I made my School for Good and Evil inspired costume based off of the character Sophie. I really enjoyed looking at all of the beautiful costumes while I watched the movie, and I knew I wanted to make my own. I wanted to take this, plus this, and get something that looked like this. I also wanted to pull inspiration from Billie Eilish's song You Should See Me in a Crown, so I incorporated spiders into this costume as well. For this costume, I only used things that I already had on hand, which did prove to be a little bit of a struggle, but I made it work. For the choker necklace, I took this Dollar Tree trim, and then I also took an old necklace and I reused the clasp on this one. For one of the rings, I took this little glass Dollar Tree bottle and I stuffed some metallic threads, some sequins, and some beads on the inside to give it that gold shiny appearance. Then I simply took my hot glue gun and I glued the charm onto this ring. I also took this charm from a broken best friend's necklace and I glued it onto a ring as well. If Sophie and Aggie had best friend necklaces, I think Sophie would definitely take the best one. This would leave Aggie with the one that said friend, but really I think that's quite fitting. For my corset top bodice, I just used this pattern, which I love to use for everything. It almost works like a sloper for me. It's a very good fit. Of course, I made lots of modifications, like adding this overlay to the front, adding in eyelets instead of a zipper, and adjusting the neckline as well. Oh, and I also split the center front of the bodice in half and I turned it into two pieces instead of one. I was working with a very limited amount of fabric, so for the skirt I went with a pencil/A-line skirt, and unfortunately I put the zipper in very off-centered. For this overskirt or mini bustle, I was also working with a very limited amount of fabric. This piece was not a perfect yard, nor was it a perfectly cut rectangle either. I was able to gather up the top slightly and add in this ribbon waistband with a zigzag stitch. Then I was able to take these thinner ribbons and just sew them onto the left and right side. As I said earlier, this was not a perfectly cut rectangle. It actually had a point in it. So when I sewed up and gathered it to make it a straight waistline, it poofed up in the middle there. I decided to use this towards my favor and I worked it into my design by taking pieces of fabric, bunching them up, and sewing them with a couple tacking stitches. Here's a closer look at one of those tacking stitches. I did use a metallic gold thread though, so it is a bit difficult to see. I'm not sure how many tacks I used in total, but I have them spread across the whole skirt to give it that nice ruche effect. I left the hem unfinished so that it would give it this ragged effect. Quite frankly, I don't really have any good footage of this costume. It was one of the most uncomfortably embarrassing things I've ever made. The skirt was much tighter and shorter than my liking, even with the little bustle to help kind of cover the back. I also modified the bust area in this corset top by making it a little less curvy. I'm not very curvy myself, so I really didn't think that this would be a problem. And by doing this and adding in the same boning placements as the costume on the movie poster, I could make it look a little more accurate to the original. Unfortunately, this caused the bodice to be very gappy on me, and when I watched the movie, I did realize that the bodice was kind of gappy on the actress as well, so I don't know. So in conclusion, if you're not working with enough fabric, you're going to have to make things tinier and skimpier, and I definitely would not wear this out in public, or probably ever again. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and also watch this. Look at this! That's human hair! Back in the Victorian times, people would make human hair jewelry. The hair would come from dead relatives that they loved. It was a way to remember loved ones and to also mourn their past lives. And Sophie, being the queen she is, decided to keep the old hair that was chopped off her head to mourn her past self. The old Sophie was dead, and she was embracing her new self with fashion. I mean, it's a little bit morbid, but it kind of fits the whole evil thing. Of course, I'm not 100% sure if they actually used human hair, and maybe they actually just used twine or something and it looks like hair. So I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Also, I'm currently saving my own dead hair to make into something. And I'm making a Sophie-inspired costume right now. Next up is Barbie.